Roll call, has that been taken?
Yes.
You know that, oh, shut up. You know that Randy will not be here today.
Yes.
Okay. So, and it is not an excused absence.
It's not?
As far as I'm concerned, it's unexcused.
So he's absent.
Yeah, just absent.
So you want me to list absent?
No, stop that. All right, public comments, correspondence. I noticed that the mayor is not here.
She's coming late.
Oh. Introduction of probationary firefighter paramedic Ben. And Ben, where is Ben?
Right here.
Ben, how do you pronounce your last name?
Lab.
Lab. Okay.
All right. It's a good time at the fire department here. I'm very pleased to introduce Ben Clapp, who started with the Marshfield Fire Rescue Department on June 10th and is assigned to the Green Shift as a recruit firefighter critical care paramedic. Ben completed his paramedic internship with the department on the Green Shift through Mid-State Technical College. He was here from December 22nd to April of 2023. Ben was very interested in working in the Marshfield Fire and Rescue Department and waited over a year for an opening. Ben did an excellent job during his internship and is an excellent fit for the department. Ben comes to us with a vast array of experience in the medical field. He worked for the Minocqua Critical Care Transport Service, which is a Marshfield Medical System transport agency based out of Minocqua. He also worked at the Marshfield Medical Care Emergency Room as an ER tech and as a paramedic for the last 5 years, where he saw a wide variety of medical situations, which has greatly enhanced his knowledge. Ben also served his country in the Army National Guard, where he was an ammunition specialist. He's accompanied by, so if I get anyone's names wrong or I forget anything, please forgive me, okay? I'm trying to do my best here. He's accompanied by his fiancee, Rylan, who brought her son, Hayes, his brother, Robert, brother Gerard, and his niece Rita. I hope I got this one right. Please help me welcoming recruit firefighter Ben Clapp to the Marshfield Fire Rescue.
Next item on the agenda is the pinning.
First.
I'll give you the pin.
Old first.
Yep, we'll do the whole first. Right up here.
You raise your right hand.
Got it. I, Benjamin Clapp,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Municipal Code of the City of Marshfield,
and the Municipal Code of the City of Marshfield,
and will perform these duties
and will perform these duties
to which I have been selected
to which I have been selected
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Now comes the pinning.
Yep, they gotta do it out front, gotta get pictures, so we're gonna get the,
Ben, while you're getting ready, you just said you would support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin. Have you ever read the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin?
Not entirely,
I see. Okay.
but I will support it.
Yeah, whatever it says.
Yes.
That's good. Ben, I'll tell you what, why don't you just swing around the table so we can all shake your hand.
congratulations.
Oh,
Thank you.
glad to have you.
That's
I guess I'm first.
Congratulations and welcome back.
Thank you.
And for the family, thank you all.
Thank you.
They're free to go upstairs with
And
them.
if you want, there's gonna be, for the family, you're gonna have a little cake and stuff upstairs for them, so you don't have to, listen to more police and fire commission meeting business unless you're really into it.
You're welcome. You're welcome to stay.
Yes. We got our own YouTube channel and everything.
Very smart to follow.
The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of our June 13th, 2024 regular meeting. A motion to,
Move to approve.
thank you, a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any corrections or changes to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And Steve, welcome again. Have you been out of that chair since our last meeting? Oh. Fire service and law enforcement news update.
I only have two this month. Knowing that the meeting was filled with a lot of things. The first one is outlines the winner of the Michael McNamee Award of Valor. It's sponsored by Firehouse Magazine. You can read the description of what firefighter Nesthenius did to earn that. The second one, in May, Connecticut State Trooper Aaron Peltier was struck by a vehicle while at a traffic stop, and he subsequently died from his injuries. And an interesting controversy arose in his hometown. As I noted in the margin, the town does have a code that requires 30 days notice for flying, other than the state flag and the American flag at township buildings. And supporters wanted to fly the thin blue line flag. And you can read some of the comments from their town council. On page 70, the first two paragraphs are probably representative of what happened. And then if you go down to the bottom half, there's some more comments from the town council members. I spoke at the police department memorial ceremony and mentioned some of the stats regarding line of duty deaths. I would fit this into the same category. But the town council said it was absolutely outrageous to say that the thin blue line flag represents racism and antagonism. It's ridiculous. As you can see in the other pages, Senator Cruz hammered the people on the town council as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Bill. Approval of fire department bill, chief.
Thank you. You'll see in your packet the first set of bills signed by Commissioner Hanson on June 26th. This set signed electronically by Commissioner Gershman on July 10th. A couple things I'd like to point out. On page 8D, you'll see Heinz and Printing for food truck stickers. Just for information, this is going to be a once every 3-year cost, as we've partnered with Wisconsin Rapids and Stevens Point on food truck inspections. All 3 communities inspect with the same criteria, which is SPS 314, NFPA 1, and NFPA 96. If a food truck passes inspection in one community, they'll get a sticker for that year that is good for all 3 communities. This helps with the reducing redundancies between communities and also helps out these small businesses. I do want to give kudos to Deputy Chief Mueller on spearheading this campaign. So that's a good thing. We have this will be the example of the sticker that goes on the window, and then it obviously changes color each year so the inspectors can see when it's done. So a great thing. The other thing I would like to point out is on page 8H, fire apparatus and equipment for the amount of $932,100. This is the prepay for engine 4. As commissioners know, we're hoping to receive this engine in 2026. This was in the CIP for 2026, but was finance moved it up the project up in the CIP project. In short, to help balance the long-term debt schedule and take advantage of the discount that we would be able to use to prepay, saving $133,240. The only two things that I see of note for the commission. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them and would ask for your approval.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? The discount was in the range of 10% or a little better than that?
I'd have to do the math. 932 to, yes, it was in the range of 10%, yes.
That's a
Little over.
pretty good deal. And I appreciate the council being willing to step forward and make that decision. You got a truck the other night. We should have had a celebration.
Yeah, we're very happy that it went through. We were through everything. It had been ordered already, and we had the PO signed and everything. But once that paperwork's done, it's kind of that gives you the finality of it.
Yeah.
And everything, whether it would be paid now or 2026, it's a good thing.
Is there any question? Are there any questions for the chief or the fire department bills? Hearing none, I will require a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, we'll have a roll call.
Pinker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keel.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the motion carries. Approval of police department bills. Chief.
Thank you. Good morning. We've got two sets of bills in your packet. Both of them are signed by Commissioner Pinker. The first was on June 26th. The second was on July 10th. There's two items I'd like to point out. The first would be on page 9B. There's we paid a PW training group. This was a joint effort between the fire department and the police department to better coordinate our responses to bigger events like active shooter is what it really focused on. In my time here, I don't remember a time where the fire department and police department were able to collaborate in this way. We're changing the way that we respond. We're involving where the fire department far exceeds our abilities in the incident command system, and we're utilizing that to help us organize and work together during these incidences. We've got mandatory training coming next week for both of our departments. We're going to train together and launch this system and then build upon it. So it was really neat to be a part of that, and I wanted to point that out. The second is on pages 9J through 9M. You'll notice that there's a lot of bills for Weiler's Enterprises for fuel. Our city gas pumps have been down for a period of time, and so we've had to go to Weiler's to fuel up our squad cars. So that's why there's a lot of those bills. I didn't see anything else of note, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions before your approval.
Just regarding your training, I think for those of us that attended the session several months ago that Chief Lipsky from Milwaukee put on, I'd say we are ahead of the game described their response to the shooting at the brewery, which was, I guess, operationally a mess because the fire department and the police department were operating at different places, operating without the same.
That's been true in many
Right.
active shooters.
And then federal agencies got involved, were operating on their own system. So it's good to see that we are ahead of the game on this.
It's really just the start of it. We're focusing on our departments first, and then the plan is to reach out to our supporting departments. All of them in Marathon County, Clark County. Wood is right behind us, I believe, so we're building on it.
And one thing I'd like to note, I appreciate you bringing that up, Chief. The thing even in the fire service, when we talk about FD and PD working together, believe it or not, all communities are not like that. That work together, and it's a great thing to be able to just look with the resources that we have and be able to work together on things that were, organizationally that work better for us so that we can serve the community better. So it's been a good venture, and we're the more training we get, the better we're going to get. So looking forward to it. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Anything else? I need a motion to approve the police department bills.
Move to approve the bills.
All right,
I'll take a second.
got a second. So we have a motion and a second to approve the police department bills. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by, no, we have to have a roll call. Excuse me. We'll have 8 of those this morning. We counted.
Baker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Peak, Keel.
Yep. Motion carries. Thank you all. Fire department activities, training reports, and correspondence.
Thank you. I'll try to make this as brief as I can. Another busy month for the department. 283 calls for service, 70 fire inspections, 309 hours of training. Besides participating in events for Dairy Fest, we also had follow-up meetings with the organizers to ensure safety for future events. We've also worked with and are working with Hub City Days, Central Wisconsin Fair organizers to work on their incident action plans or IAPs. We've also worked with, you'll see, we worked with industries such as Masonite on improvement for their response. These are some of the examples of our department meeting demand for community risk reduction for events and for industry. So we are working diligently to prevent things and to organize things better. Any questions, I would take those and would like you to place on file.
Page 10C, blue shift training, vent training with Sarah Brock. Who is Sarah Brock?
Sarah Brock would be the LifeLink. She's one of the nurses that works on the LifeLink helicopter.
Okay.
And we did vent training on ventilator to help with ventilations for patients.
I don't know, I've always thought that the ventilation in this building's been fine.
It is
Yes,
now.
yeah.
It didn't start out that way.
All right, any comments or questions about the chief's report? The next item on the agenda has to do with retirement of interim chief Jody Clements. Do you have anything you would like to share with us?
I didn't really prepare anything. I think
No, that's fine.
the letter on September 3rd is going to be my last day at the department. I've been with the department over 30 years, so it's been a good run, and it's time.
All I will tell you, as a retiree, the first couple of weeks are gonna feel odd. Just odd. Listen, you stepped up when we needed you. You've done a great job. And I think the commission as a whole really appreciate what you've done. Thank you. Are you taking some vacation before you, the 3rd of September?
Yeah, I'll have a couple days of vacation at the end, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Congratulations.
Shouldn't we have cake or something?
I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not gonna say it all.
There might be some left.
They had to buy a lot of cake this week, so.
Yeah,
Maybe at the next meeting.
yeah, that's all right.
All right. I hate to miss the cake.
Yeah.
Anyway. Report on the implementation of the, we have to have a motion to accept his retirement.
What if it's tonight?
The checks just go rolling in.
He usually does. Steve, you normally do the motions for retirements.
And that's a motion to accept his retirement. Is there a second to Steve's motion?
Second.
Thank you very much. Have a motion, have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say yes when your name is called.
Henker,
Yes.
Hanson, Meek, Keo.
Yes. Jody, thanks. It always feels, we ought to have a band or something, and we never do, anyhow. This is supposed to be my report on the implementation of the improvement plan, leadership improvement plan that we passed last meeting. I think everyone understood what we did. Appreciate very much the leadership of the fire department in putting together the plan and getting the people sort of organized and arranged and to take their respective places in the plan. I think it says something positive about the future of the department, and we're grateful for that. What we have as follows is kind of required, it sounds like an attorney's thing, where we need to officially name the people that are not, it's all in the plan, but we've got to go through the steps here. And before we go through all of the approvals, I want to thank each individual who we will name for their agreeing to step up and be part of the, what I think of as the leadership improvement plan. So again, thank you all. Approval of the promotion of Lieutenant Brian Barnes to the position of Deputy Fire Chief Prevention, effective July 15th, 2024.
So I just would like the commission to know that obviously each one of these promotions that were part of the leadership development plan that was approved. I believe it's like the earlier in the meeting we had Ben with his pinning and doing all of that. We are still going to be doing that with each of these promotions because it's very, very important. Because it's not only for them, it's for their family, it's for a lot of things. And we also need to celebrate our successes here at the department. So I want everyone to understand that we'll be working on different meetings where we'll be doing that works out with each of these promotions and their families. So I just want to make that note that if it looks like we're just kind of going by with this, but it was very important with this plan. Before I introduce each one of these, for us to get them in these positions as soon as possible, so that each level is here to mentor them and help them get as much time in the seat with somebody else over their shoulder to help promote success for this. So with that being said, I'll go back to item 13. I would ask for your approval of Lieutenant Brian Barnes going to the position of Deputy Fire Chief of Fire Prevention, effective was July 15th of 2024. We're looking forward to Brian working with Deputy Chief Mueller, and it's been a good few weeks here already, and we're very, very positive for this, so I recommend approval, please.
Move to approve the promotion.
I need a second. Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, we need a roll call vote.
Pinker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keel.
Yes. That's been taken care of, and thanks to all who've been involved in that process. If we're gonna have something every time for each of these, redo your budget to include cakes.
We'll try, or we could just stage them at festival.
Well, there you go.
After the meeting, you
It's in the budget.
It is in the budget.
Okay.
Item 14, Chief, you want to cover that one?
Yes. I would ask for your approval of promotion of Relief Lieutenant, First Engineer Nathaniel McNamara to the position of Lieutenant on Red Shift effective June 26, 2024. Once again, this was a very good fit, and that'll work great for the Red Shift. On that, I do want to just make one note, not to take the limelight off of Lieutenant McNamara. Lieutenant Shad, who was on the Red Shift, we moved him shifts to the Blue Shift organizationally, and I want to thank Lieutenant Shad. Had nothing but it can change your life quite a bit to change your schedule for the whole year, and he did a great job on just basically accepting it and working with it and doing what's best for the department. So both of these people, Lieutenant McNamara and Lieutenant Shad, I'd like to approve the promotion of Relief Lieutenant First Engineer Nate McNamara to the position of Lieutenant.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Make a motion to approve. I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Thank you very much. Any discussion, comment? Hearing none, all in favor, whoops, we have to have a roll call.
Pinker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keel.
Yes. That's taken care of.
I'll move into item 15 if that's all right.
That's fine.
With the promotion of Nate McNamara to Lieutenant, I'd like the approval of promotion of Relief Lieutenant Lucas Friedland to the position of First Engineer for Red Shift, effective June 26, 2024. Lucas, with the promotion of Nate McNamara, there's an opening for this position on Red Shift. And Lucas is the next person on the list and will be a great, great fit for this position, and I'm excited for him to be there. I would ask for your approval, please.
Move to approve the promotion.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Thank you. All those, questions, comments?
The only thing I'll say, President Keough, is that with all these promotions forthcoming will be We're talking about, obviously, budget season's kind of a busy season, but after that, we're gonna be looking at some promotional processes that will be coming up to create lists and everything like that forthcoming. So the commission will be seeing that coming up.
That's fine, thank you. The motion, I think we need a roll call vote.
Pinker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keo.
Yes. Welcome, Madam Mayor.
Hello there. Thank you.
Discuss the process to review and implement policies for the police department's new policy manual. Chief, you want to speak to that?
Should we do activities first?
16.
Oh.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mayor,
Oh, Chance, there's so much in this room here, yeah.
did you cause this? That's why you walked in.
I take responsibility. And I'm proud of every bit of it.
Well, you should be.
We can hear you and then talking.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything. I'd interrupt.
What do you mean? Some comments.
Well, in any case,
I don't have as much brain, so there's more room for roots. That's easy.
I didn't understand that. I'm sorry, item 17 is discuss the process to review and implement policies for the police department's new policy manual.
Do you want to do the activities first, President, or this one? Either one's fine.
All right, I'll let you guys go.
I don't care,
Okay.
We can discuss the policy since you brought it up.
all right?
As mentioned in a previous meeting, we are moving to a new policy manual, which is very labor intensive for us. And unfortunately for you as the commission, as you approve and actually are the owners of all the policies for our department. There is, we counted 15 different chapters in the new policy manual, ranging from 1 to 40 policies per chapter. So there's quite a few. And what I'd like to do is find a way that the commission is comfortable with what we bring forward. We get 2 policies a week, so 8 a month. We could bring all 8 before the board every month to have you work on and then approve. We can play it by ear, where if there's edits and things that need to do, so we don't overbear. And I just want to have a discussion as to what you folks are comfortable with as far as the workload with the policies. They range in length, anywhere from 1 page to over 10. So I guess I just wanted a clear understanding of how you'd like us to proceed.
But you're dealing with them 8 a month.
We get 8 a month, yeah.
I'll make a president's decision. Let's start by seeing them 8 a month. And
We can always make adjustments.
yeah, and if we find it onerous, we'll figure a way to balance it out.
That's good. At least it's a launching point. I didn't want to overburden you guys, and we can always adjust. So
Yeah, no, that's fine. Unless there's some objection to that, I think we'll go that way.
thank you.
What are we supposed to be doing now? What did you tell me?
Activities.
Oh, how about police department activities? Did you have any this month?
Yeah, a couple. Like the fire department, we're busy with planning with all of the events that the city holds during this time of year. I pride our city on trying to do what we can to plan for the safest event possible, and we take that seriously. So we've been involved a lot in that sort of stuff. Departmentally, our SROs take a lot of their training during this time of year, so they've been attending some training. Tony has been working a lot with Reggie, our dog, which isn't listed in the activities, but that's been been a pretty cool process to watch. We had our budget season, as you know, so we've worked through that and did what we could daily to keep the department moving. The list is before you. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you have before placing them on file.
We need a motion. Any comments or questions, please? Hearing none, Chief will put it on file, put them on file.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Review and approve proposed fire and rescue department budget. Let me make a comment about the budget in general. Our job as a commission is not to make decisions for the common council. They have their own decisions to make. What we need to do is tell the common council what we really need, what we need them to pay for. There should be nothing in our proposals that we truly don't need. No puffing, no fluffing. I would like to be able to say to the common council and the individual alderpersons that we've been through it carefully and that everything is in that is in that list is something that we have decided is important for us to have. The other thing that concerns me, and I ask this every year of both of the chiefs, did either of you leave something out that you thought your department needed because you knew that the money was tight for the city? If you did that, that's making the council's decision. It's not yours to make. It should go to the council and they should take it seriously as they always do with the budget and say, you know, as much as we would like to, 2 snowmobiles just aren't in it this year. It's up to them to decide what they can afford to pay for and what they can't. We have to be honest in what we ask for. So I am assuming, because we've talked about this every year, that that's the basis for the budget proposals that we've gotten and we're looking at right now. So with that, fire department.
Yep. Just to comment on your comment, but the one thing that the fire department that we're dealing with obviously is staffing. And through that, the council is aware and finance is aware and administration's aware of that issue. And that's one thing that it's not a clear line, like if it's in the budget or out of the budget, you know what I mean? That's something that we're dealing with there. But as far as the budget, I just want to make a couple comments and I'm going to let Deputy Chief Mueller take this over. Number one, I have to very much say how much I appreciate the efforts of Deputy Chief Backus, but especially Lori and Everett on their efforts on this budget process. It's a long process. Things are changing on how things are entered and how things have gone with it and everything. And there's been a lot of work put in, and that needs to be recognized. It's been a lot, and they've done a great job and a lot of extra time and a lot of extra effort. But with that, I'm gonna let Everett go with his presentation on the budget.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Thank you for allowing me to present the 2025 Fire and Rescue Department budget that you have in front of you. There was an addendum that was done last evening. That addendum was some clerical errors that we found within the budget, but we felt that needed to be given to you so that you understood the full parameters of what we had in our budget. I'd like to first start by personally thanking Deputy Chief Steve Backus and Office Coordinator Lori Kanzer and the many members of the department that make this process come together each year. In addition, I'd also like to thank City Administrator Steve Barg, Finance Director Jennifer Selensky, and Finance Manager Jordan Munger for all the assistance they have rendered during the process. The fire protection and fire prevention budget are considered to be part of the 101 General Fund, which is part of the tax base. Both budgets saw an overall increase of $176,804.70 over the 2024 budget. Fire protection budget had an increase of $136,706.03, which is a 4.89% increase. And it made some of the major projects that we put in there, and these are things that we've talked about throughout the year, but the apparatus bay door controllers, the station painting plan, we're nearing the 15-year mark at our station, and we're starting to see some wear and tear on some of the walls, things like that, and we wanted to start to revamp that. The self-contained breathing apparatus replacement, last year you saw where we ran into a little bit of a problem with getting the maintenance done on our SCBA cylinders. With those SCBA cylinders, we were able to find another alternative to get them another 15-year extension on those. So what I did is I put together a 15-year plan that'll allow us to replace, I believe it's 7 cylinders a year, so that we can start getting ourselves back into place. And then over that 7 years, we went back to the 15-year replacement at the end. We also had a second set of gear replacement through the CIP process in the past. With the CIP process, we purchased those. That second set of gear is for cancer prevention. That's a #1 kind of killer, or #1 killer of firefighters these days. That was something that we decided was an important part, an important process for the department, and we'd like to continue to replace that second set of gear throughout the years. And another thing that we had was thermal imaging cameras. Thermal imaging cameras are starting, like everything, they have firmware updates and things like that that need to be done on them. They're starting to meet their life expectancy for our thermal imaging cameras, and we'd like to start looking at replacement of those. Some of the bailout kits, this is for survivability. If a firefighter were to get into flame over conditions or a condition that they could not survive in, this allows them to have the ability to carry a bailout kit on the side of them so they can bail out a window. In our thought process, we think these are very important, something that would save a firefighter's life. Station appliance replacement. At the fire department, we've got lots of things that we need to take into consideration. We've got some larger appliances such as refrigerators, things like that, and we want to put together a replacement plan that's fiscally responsible so that we can replace those on a schedule. Years ago, it seemed like those appliances lasted a lot longer than what they do now, and we need to make sure that we're putting that in our budget to make sure we can take care of those items. A couple items too, training. We had rope rescue and firefighter survivability training, which goes along with the bailout kits. We feel that that's a very important piece. Rope rescue is something that we offer as far as different things that can be used in confined space rescue, can be used in high angle rescue, hazardous materials rescue if need be. So this all builds on all the other disciplines that we have and even in our firefighting capabilities. So we want to make sure that we have that. Right now, I think we currently have 1 certified rope rescue person. We'd like to get 3. That way they can bring that training back to each one of our shifts. So that's the intent of that. And then overall, we had inflation increases. As we move into the fire prevention budget, we saw an increase of $40,098.67, or a 4.49% increase over 2024. The major projects are not any different. Some of these budget, they carry into each one of the budgets because they deal with the station and certain parameters of the station. So the apparatus bay door controllers, and I don't think I really touched on that at the beginning, but the apparatus bay door controllers, we found out those have a lot of electronic information and a lot of pieces and devices inside of them that are now losing their date. So they're outdated at this point, and we need to actually start replacing some parts of those. The good news is we take one controller out, we can continue to salvage parts off of a computer that's still working. So we're gonna do that over a 14-year process, replace 1 controller per year. And that's gonna be found in all 3 budgets. Again, the station painting plan, no different than the other budget. Station appliance replacement plan. The public education outreach supplies and equipment. We're starting to do a lot more public education in our community. We're trying to be a part of some of the, like Hub City Days, Dairy Fest, Central Wisconsin State Fair. You'll see us down there this year. This is an invitation for us to get out and actually meet with the general public and have that equipment, show them our equipment, show them some of the stuff that we have, and at the same time, we can actually offer some survivability training. This year, the Central Wisconsin State Fair will actually be renting the trailer, the public education trailer, which allows them to go through some fire scenarios. And we'll be doing that about 3 or 4 times throughout the fair per day. So that's the goal of that. What this would do is allow us to have the funding available for each one of those events to make sure that we can do things that we need to. Car 5 slide out tray, that tray is going to be for carrying, setting up for the future and also making sure that we can take care of our rig teams in the meantime. Right now we have no way of securing things in the back of the rig, and those are expensive SCBs. Our SUVs are about $8,000 if we purchase those outright, and I think the price is going up. We could be looking at $9,000 in the not so distant future. This would allow us to secure those to a rack and make sure that they're gonna be able to be protected. And then in the future, we could also build out a command module on that if we do decide to put one of our deputy chiefs inside of a command vehicle. And then, of course, inflation increases over some parts of the budget. In our enterprise fund, we did actually see a decrease of 75,000 to 1366, which is good. Some of the bigger projects actually dropped off from last year. We purchased ambulance 98, and in purchasing that ambulance, we had power cot load, we had some cot in there, we had other items that were applicable to that ambulance. Those fell off from the budget, which then created kind of an avenue where we had a decrease in the budget. That is good because the fund has shown improvement, is now operating in the positive. It's slightly in the positive. If we were to ask Jordan, he would tell me that it's only slightly in the positive. It's not going to be able to sustain much, but it is a trend in the right direction so that fund will start to restore itself. That's going to take some time. There still is some uncollectible debt that will need to be written off in the next few years, but overall the fund is improving. And I think Jordan could even talk, if you have questions on that, he can speak on that part of it. One major project that you'll see in there is the employee wellness counseling. One of the biggest things that you'll see out there, I think it's both for the police department and fire departments, is wellness of our first responders and talking about PTSD. This allows us to send one of our first responders, or all of our first responders, annually for about an hour and a half session, so they can talk about things with a counselor that actually understands fire and EMS. This allows the opportunity to kind of see where people are at and gauge how they're doing. And if they choose to go on for further, they can do that through their own plan. But it allows us to at least get a benchmark where everybody's, how they're doing, how they're handling stuff. We see a lot of trauma throughout the years, and that kind of adds into it. All other items were due to inflation or increased operating costs. You're gonna find in your budget, this is where it gets kind of difficult to explain the rest of the budget. We've got 3 personnel, and we still need to discuss the 3 open firefighter positions, but before we proceed, I'd like to entertain any questions you may have on the 3 budgets that have been presented today before we go to that part of it. Anybody have any questions on any 3 budgets?
Questions for Everett?
Page 6.
Is Steve still with us?
Yes. Okay. It's just when they jumped over top of us, we came off the screen. So as soon as he talks, I'll pop back.
All right, thank you.
Going down to about 3/4 of the way down, there's a car allowance.
Correct. I believe that goes to the chief.
Okay. Has any thought been given to a chief's vehicle instead of a car allowance?
As of now, no, but we can certainly do that. We can look at it in the future. We can certainly go down that avenue. I think that's a bigger discussion for what we want to do in the future from the PFC.
That's in both budgets.
Yeah, I know it's been in both budgets. And I guess my thought is that if we're gonna have a car allowance, and we're gonna have a chief traveling someplace, whether it's chief of department or deputy chief, get out there and tell everybody who we are as a PR point. Yeah, I realize $1,200 a year versus attempting to acquire a car, that's quite a difference. You know, Wausau Fire has recently had a City Hall fleet vehicle transferred to the fire department. This is a command car. But just something to think about in the future.
Absolutely, we can put it for next year's budget and probably some discussions between both departments
Yeah.
and the PFC to present some of that information back. I would assume you would want to see it in both.
Yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to both.
Right.
The city is only on the hook for $100 a month.
Right,
You know,
yeah, I understand that.
And just one more thing is that, you know, with another marked car, also brings other issues too, where a lot of times we're not equipped to handle some of the complaints that get flagged down and things like that, because we're not gonna have the equipment. I wouldn't wanna stock the equipment in that car
Right,
that we have in our.
you know, and it may be a different situation, police versus fire. But I look at trying to increase community involvement. That provides you another aspect of PR. And I do recognize there's a significant price difference.
Yeah, it definitely is something we can look at
Yeah.
and discuss the positives and negatives of it and seeing what our fleet is right now.
Yeah.
So definitely talk about that.
And I'll just relate something. When Roy Dolans was still in the department, he and I went to a meeting up in Wausau, and we took one of the fire department trucks. And what was interesting, we're downtown at a crosswalk by the Marathon County Public Library. There was a lady on the sidewalk with 3 kids. She saw the truck, didn't care whether or not it was Wausau or Marshfield, but she saw the truck and she said, "Look, they're firemen." And the kids were jumping up and down on the street, waving and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just an interesting PR device. That's the only question that I've got.
Any other questions about the fire department? Everett, have you got more you want to share with us?
Yes, I do. I kind of want to break this apart between the two pieces because replacing the 3 firefighters is its own bigger encapsulating problem. It's an ongoing issue that continues to be a problem for the department. The department needs these positions to assist with EMS call volume. They're also needed for fire response to move us closer to NFPA 17 and ISO standards. That's kind of where we pull that information from, kind of our 5-minute and 30-second response times. This appears to be a much more difficult problem to replace these positions as the city struggles financially. We've had great or long discussions with City Administrator Steve Barg, Jennifer Slowinski, Jordan Munger, and even Steve Bacus as far as trying to replace these positions. It doesn't seem like it's a very simple issue. It's not just something where we just dream up some money and we put the money towards it. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be looking at some different remedies to try to take care of that. Steve Barg has actually come in today to maybe talk on some of those different financial avenues that we've. And I just wanted to take this moment to appreciate IT. I appreciate all you do. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
It's important to have you. But I think at this point, just maybe I'll turn it over to Steve Barth for a moment, just to let him.
Yeah, I'll come over here so I'm out of the cheap seats for a second, guys. Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to see this department get back to full strength, to the point where it was in 2021. I know there's a desire to go beyond that, and I think back to the referendum that went forward in April 2023, which came so close. That 50% was 50.5 to 49.5. But if you look at getting back to where we were just in 2021 by having all 3 of those slots filled, right now we're dealing with, and you probably know some of this, I'm not whining, but we have the clinic settlement that we had, which I think was a good settlement for us given the potential of losing it all if we'd gone to court, losing that money, losing a good chunk of money from the Marshfield Utilities pilot. Those 2 combined come around $600,000, and that really puts us in a bad starting point for the 2025 budget. We'll get through it, we'll make it work. Jennifer and Jordan are doing a great job working with the department heads who are, sharpening their pencils, but it's hard to picture right now being able to make that fit without additional revenues coming from somewhere for 2025. So I've talked a little bit with Everett about what the options might be. One is potentially going back for another referendum. There might be some negative political thought from that. How many times do you want to go to the well? But when I think about how close the first one came, and I think about a reduced version of that, I think people caught the vision for the need. They just didn't see the total size of the request as being something they wanted to support. We're talking about 71 people was the total in terms of how that failed by. Another idea that Everett's brought up has been discussed before, I think by his predecessor, Pete Fletty, is Jody as well, the fire protection fee. And that there's a good argument being made by many communities to charge based upon square foot of the type of structure being protected, property being entrusted to our care, that might be another revenue to offset costs of additional firefighter paramedics. There may be other ideas. So I guess what I'm saying today is we're supportive of trying to make it work. ultimately, when we're sitting here later into the budget process, maybe it does work without the additional revenues. But right now, I don't think that between Jennifer and Jordan and I, we're seeing that to be likely, given the starting point that we have, that we're working on right now with the 2025 budget. So those are just other ideas for trying to make this work. But I think it ought to be a commitment to trying to get, and like I said, I know you want to go past that with another 3 or another 6, but I think the goal right now ought to be getting to where we were in 2021. And I see potential avenues, and maybe there's other ideas out there to produce the revenue to make it work if we can't get ourselves trimmed to the point where it fits into the budget that we have looming right now. Basically, that's it.
Administrator Barg, do I remember correctly that Alderman Staver's motion was for one position this year? And then second step was to look at the additional 2 yet this year.
You're correct.
Is that second step happening in any formal way?
I don't know if we've done a formal review of what that looks like. I know that the numbers are a struggle. I think we're doing okay for 2025 in general. We're not going deep into a hole. Whether or not the finances are there for another, I think it'd be roughly $225,000 when you consider the pay and benefits and outfitting those positions. I'm not personally seeing it at this moment, but we probably do need to do a greater formal review, because you're right, that was the approved motion to take a look at the additional 2 in the back half of 2024.
Yeah, I think that it would be important to do that because it would establish a baseline, if you like. As it is now, we're talking about intention, we're not talking about. Anyway, I just wanted to bring it forward.
That's a good point. We can do that, absolutely. In fact, we need to do that for the council.
Anything else for Administrator Barg?
Yes. Steve, 2 months ago at a meeting, Steve said, Bill knows more in that comprehensive plan than I think I do sometimes. And there's chapter 2 of the comprehensive plan. The Common Council's mission and vision statement has been published. And one of the goals of that statement is that the Common Council will be innovative and imaginative in solving evolving issues. So I think on the Common Council's part, which controls our funding, as well as on our part, we've already been told what we have to do. It's not the ultimate solution, but we've been told we have to be innovative and imaginative in solving these problems.
Yeah, understood. I mean, the challenge is always financing. You were at the meeting the other night, and so were you, Andy, when the council talked about the police department relocation. And I think it became pretty clear that most of the body would probably like to see that happen. Now, there's a debate on how to fund it. Is it through borrowing? Is it through going to the public with a referendum to see if they support a $10 million renovation of that building on the south end of town? I agree with you completely. It always just comes down to resources. And there's no other way to say it. Are the resources there, and to what level to do these things?
Well, and as I tried to say, that's the council's job, is to determine whether or not there are the resources to do what needs to be done. I always say there's enough money in the city budget to do whatever they want. Problem is they can't do all that they want. So they've got to make those kinds of decisions that I understand, and that's tough. I wouldn't want to have to be a part of that, really. In any case, the fire department is understaffed. There's just no way around that. If you look at the call volume and the amount of work that they have to do against the volume of calls that are constantly coming in, this is the first meeting that I have been to, and I think the last 3 or 4, that there's been no ambulance out that door. And it's unusual. And somehow or another, we have to find a way to fund adequate staffing. And I don't think bringing it to 2021 is going That's not extraordinary, exceptional. That's what we need.
I agree. We need to get there.
Anyway, yes, Everett.
I guess now, to look into this a little bit further, with the vacant firefighter position, if we were to put it with our budget, for the 2025 budget, we'd be looking at, well, in 2024, we had 84,858 that went to our one firefighter that we replaced in the second quarter. When we look at the changes that we'll need for next year, we'll need $232,911 to fund the additional 2 firefighters to make sure that the funding is available. That comes out to a total of $317,769. And really for the 2025 proposed budget, what that means for the 101 general fund would be $4,184,491.30. And that comes out to about a 10.9% increase to that budget. So what would have to happen is, I guess I would be looking for direction from the Police and Fire Commission as to how we proceed with this. If you would like that to be part of the budget, or if you want to select the budget as far as what we had, I'd be looking for direction from you.
If I take the comments that I made at the beginning of this part of the meeting, I would say put it in the budget. And let the Common Council meet its responsibilities by either funding it or not, depending upon what they believe. Now, I don't know if the rest of the commission feels, has a similar feeling.
I agree.
And Steve, do you agree that we should include it in the budget so that if nothing else, it tells the Common Council that it's an issue that has to be dealt with along the way?
Absolutely. If you don't keep pushing it, they're just gonna keep kicking it down the road.
Is that?
No, I don't disagree. I mean, we've had situations before with staff positions at City Hall and other things where we've had to put something in 2 or 3 times, but you keep the need out there. And so I get that.
Yeah.
I do.
I think you have your direction, Everett.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just one. The current buzzwords in the Common Council seem to be cost-effective, return on investment. The return on investment, increasing our staff, is keeping the public safe. It's keeping people alive, buildings operate so they don't burn. It's life safety. The return on the investment is life or death. Can't argue with that.
Anything else? Bill, and thank you. I mean, that's ultimately where we all come, is we're looking out for the safety of our people. Everett, did you have your hand?
No, I did not.
We need to have a motion to approve the fire department budget and to include 2 additional firefighters.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve the budget as been presented to us with the addition of 2 additional firefighters. Need a roll call for that for sure.
Canker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keo.
Yes. Administrator Barr, Steve, did you give the department heads a cap or just 5% max or 2% max or?
Yeah, this is kind of a new approach. We've done this different ways. If you think about all the years, and there've been some frustrations that you and I have talked about before, where we've received the department budgets and fire went up by 4% and public works went up by 5%, whatever it is. And I find myself in my office on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in more than one actually in September, going through and trying to trim. This is our way of saying, setting, here's a cap, here's where you want you to come in, you can make an argument for additional items, here's your target, based upon, cost of living adjustment or whatever. We've already had conversations, Jordan and Jennifer can attest to this, where certain departments have said, you know what, for this reason, we can't make that. We have this additional cost that we need to handle, and we have no control over it, and we've made adjustments, we have. But it's sort of your starting point. You start here and then add back as need be, or you start here and then cut back, and it's kind of a reverse approach to doing it.
Thank you. I would ask, and you and I have talked about this, if it comes to the point where a proposed budget that you're receiving from police or fire has to be reduced, give the police and fire commission an amount. And then we go to the departments and say, you have to deal with this, rather than saying, well, cut out the snowmobiles.
Well, yeah, and you and I have talked about that, and I agree with you. I think what's happened before is I've met with the fire or police chief, and this includes their predecessors, those who are sitting in the room, and said, look, we need to find some trimming. And they maybe have said, well, I guess I can give up this piece of equipment for $15,000. And I've said, great, wonderful, that'll help us get to the finish line, and that shows good faith by your department. And then I've later on heard that when the chief came back to you guys, you're like, well, under what guise did you make this offer? In other words, I've been unintentionally been putting the police and fire chief in an awkward position with their own supervisors. Yeah. That's never been my intent.
No.
But I get what you're saying, and I fully respect that the interaction with me maybe more directly should have.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure it's out there.
Yep.
We approved the fire department budget, including 2 new fire. Chief, are you ready to make your case?
Ready as I'm gonna be, so. Thank you, and I'd like just to say a few things before I turn it over to this body for their decision and any questions. So I feel that we put together a budget that's fiscally responsible. I understand the situation that the city is in, and we did keep that in mind. And actually the new process that we had to do, this did point out some things where we overlooked in past budgets where we could cut, and we did. So in that respect, I think what Jordan and Jennifer and Steve did this year was a benefit to our department and the city. I also put we also put in this budget the things that we feel we need to provide service and safety to our citizens and our employees, and that's equally as important to me. So I certainly couldn't have put this together by myself. Lori is here with us today, and thank you, Lori, for helping me out today. Lori is our most senior member of our budget team. Also, the other members on the team is Travis Esser, Jason Parks, and Cindy Getz. So together we worked out a budget. There is a 4.6% increase from last year's budget in this proposed budget. Some of those have to do with things that we don't have much control over. The increase in cost of goods, the settlement of our union contract was at 3%. Our non-union represented employees also received raises this year due to a staff study, and those were needed too, but that's also reflected in that 4.6% increase. We also have the strategy similar to what Everett explained with the fire department, that with our equipment that we know is going to wear out, that are expensive to replace, we try to put those on a rotation so that we can buy a few of them every year, keep good equipment, and not have to come up with a lot of money at one time to replace items that we need. An example of that last year, I believe it was last year, was the rifles. We came into a situation where all of our rifles are malfunctioning, and that's a big cost to try to come up with. So our strategy is to rotate those out so that it's a less cost every budget season. A lot of our increases this year are the lion's share of increases are on page 19B. That's our operating costs. We have some one-offs there that we're adding. Those items are things that we need for safety or service. A couple of examples is stop sticks. Our current stop sticks that we have, those are used in pursuits to try to stop a vehicle to pop the tires. We use Stinger stop sticks, which requires us to be close to the road. Both units do. But the stop sticks that we use have a tendency sometimes to roll so that the spikes aren't up. And what's happening in the state is many times officers are trying to correct that, keeping them out on next to the road too long, and that's what's causing them to get hit. The sticks that we're looking at, no matter what side it ends on the bottom, there's always spikes, and so it makes it a lot more safe and easier to deploy those. There's a sniper scope in there. There's shields for our vehicle. Our shields that we have are old and they're extremely heavy and not all that much more effective. So the shields that we need to replace, that we would replace would be lighter. I think our officers would be more inclined to bring them and have them used if we need. Unfortunately, we're in a world where ambush is an issue that we have to deal with, and I think providing tools for that. There's other things in there, flock cameras. That's a common thing in our profession right now, and Wisconsin Rapids is implementing them. The Rapids area, I should say, Grand Rapids and Coosa are implementing them. What that is a camera system that we can put out anywhere in our city, and it'll read license plates as they come in. If we have an issue or another jurisdiction has an issue that we're looking for a vehicle, either the color of the vehicle or a license plate, we can enter that into our system, and whenever they go past a flock camera in any other jurisdiction, we get a flag. So if we have a robbery at Weiler's gas station, we can enter that in a flock, and if that shows up on a camera in Rapids or Wausau or on the highway, we get noticed.
We actually just had that stolen vehicle of ours found up in
Yep.
Vilas County using the flock camera system.
Right, so it's basically a subscription after we get the cameras in, but it's a tool that we can use to provide a better service for our community. So those are the types of things that we feel that our community needs and that we added to this budget. The last one that I want to point out before turning over to this group is our mental wellness. I committed to mental wellness when I was promoted. It's important to me. I feel that we lose way too many cops and firefighter paramedics to suicide, and I think that there's a great impact on our personal lives, and I want to do what I can to prevent that in future generations. We were able to find a counselor that used to be a police officer, and he's well respected and I think is phenomenal. He is going to be doing a check-in this year. It'll be the first mandatory check-in that we do. And what I want to implement is a yearly check-in so we can stop problems before they become too big. And that is included in this budget as well. That was about $11,000 a year for the entire police department, to include some non-sworn. Oftentimes we overlook when we had dispatchers. Dispatchers is a huge area that needs to be addressed. But our record staff are typing reports, seeing photographs that people shouldn't see, and they need to have an outlet for that as well. So we wanted to address that in this budget and make sure that we're getting our employees the help and the health that they need, that they deserve. With that, I think that explains our budget. Again, I have Lori here to help me with any questions, and I would entertain anything that you would like to bring forward before approval of the budget.
Thank you, Chief. Comments or questions about the police department budget, please?
I have only one question. This is on page 13. Under professional services, there's $500 for interpreter services.
What?
Interpreter services.
Okay.
Are they provided via telephone, or do we have people in town that provide those?
Most of it's through telephone because we don't know what language we're going to have to use.
I think what this was mainly for, we've had on occasion where we've actually, a more sensitive case, like if there's a sexual assault with juveniles and that, we need to bring that interpreter in to the department. And that is usually it's $50 to $75 an hour plus paying for travel costs.
And at least relative to the Spanish language population in the area, we do have more people.
Yeah, there's more people available for that, but there's other language we have.
Sure.
There's some Nigerian folks that moved in last year, and there's not many people that can speak with them. So those would be done on a virtual or telephone, where it's really kind of a cool system that they have set up. But.
Okay.
Other questions, comments?
Move to approve the budget.
We have a motion to approve the police department budget. Is there a second? Thank you, Steve. Anything else? Comments or questions? Hearing none, I think it's a roll call vote.
Tinker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keo.
Yes,
Thank you.
the motion carries. The budget is approved. Capital improvement plan. You know, I don't like the way the capital improvement plan is done now. I've said it. I liked it better when I was on the committee. And I knew what was going on. I suppose, because of the way things are organized, the commission does not deal with money. That's the city's business, and so the capital improvement plan basically is entirely the city's, other than the department should have the capital requests that they're making pass through this group. I think it's awkward when somebody says to me, what's in the capital improvement plan, and I didn't know it. Well, that isn't the way it ought to be. But we have to approve the capital requests. They've already gone through. I think we're kind of behind the process, right?
You haven't talked about this at all in
No.
2024 yet?
No.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
No. But that's all right. I know the city has been careful this year, and that there are, I mean, they got a new truck, for heaven's sakes. You're doing pretty good. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
In any case, is there any, I'm not sure exactly what we do. You've seen the capital improvement plans, what the request is. Everett, go ahead.
I can present a little bit on that if you
Yeah.
want me to. All right, thank you for allowing me to present the 2025-2029 CIP. This year's CIP process was delayed due to staffing changes in the city. This led to a delay in completing the reporting of the CIP to the commission. In 2025, we plan on presenting the CIP much earlier in the process. I think what we'd like to do in the future is possibly bring the projects to you sometime in January, February timeframe, so that you approve of the projects that we're going to put in the CIP, so then we can move those along into the process. I think that's the better way of doing business as we move forward. This is a very fluid process for the city that the entire city works hard to put together each year. All departments work together to figure out where and when items can be purchased before proposing them to boards and council. If funding is unavailable, projects may be removed throughout the budget process. So even up to the end of the 2025 budget process, some of these projects could be removed if the funding just is not available. So it is a very fluid process. I guess at this point it's had a soft approval, I think is how they stated it. So we've got a soft approval. Things may be, again, taken out if they need be due to funding opportunities. The fire department team has selected the following projects to be funded through the long-term debt, which is any one-time project greater than $10,000 that meets the capital improvement project list. For the Protection Prevention 101 General Fund, one thing I'd like to point out, and I think we've talked a little bit about it today, but Engine 4 was removed from the 2025-2029 CIP due to a substantial cost savings. The city was able to save about $133,000 by signing that contract early and paying for it in full. That's a new thing in recent years. As we start looking at our CIP process and purchasing of apparatus, we've started to see that we've got long leg times, talking about 2 to 3 years out in some cases. So it was very good that the city was able to work with us to come up with that plan and have that cost savings. I really would like to thank Steve Barg and also Jennifer Solensen in that process.
And I'd like to thank you guys for bringing it forward and making it clear what the savings would be and giving us a good choice on how to move forward.
Thank you. We do have some loose equipment that you're going to find in the 2026 budget. That's about $121,000. That was a cost savings. We still have the $1.1 million, so keep us underneath that parameter, or what we looked at for $1.1 in original budget budgeting of that project. But we wanted to make sure we were able to retain that, put it back in the budget, so we got the equipment we needed for that new engine. Some of that equipment is 25 plus years old. In 2025, we're gonna be looking at the training center, $18,750, and all this is in the 101 general fund. So we're gonna be looking at that. Car 6 is $113,000. That is gonna be replacement for old car 6, which is a 2006 Ford F-250. We'll be looking at a new Ford F-250 to replace that one. Starting to show some rust, wear and tear. Last year we had to go and bulletproof the engine, put some money into that. And then there was some question as to what the lower end of that engine would be. So this would be a good time to part ways with that vehicle, and this is a good way to do it. Squad 1 preemptive package. This was a little bit of a lag over from this last project. Squad 1's gonna be going in for the refurbishment of that vehicle. To refurb that vehicle, to buy a new vehicle for Squad 1, we'd be looking at about $900,000 right now. We were able to refurb that vehicle for $150,000 and get another 15 years, 10 to 15 years out of that vehicle, which we felt was a very good, fiscally responsible plan. This is just a little bit left over from that because we need to put preemptive package on there, which is preemptive lighting for intersections, as well as internet, which would be the Wi-Fi cradle point, and a new radio, Motorola UHF, VHF radio would be part of that plan. For 2026, again, the engine 4 loose equipment at $121,000. Also have the fire alarm panel for the fire station. They're starting to meet that upper limit of that fire alarm panel. That one is also with JCI, which is a little bit, the components inside that panel are very conducive just to JCI, so we're actually looking to upgrade to a different panel that can be serviced by anyone, which will help us in the long-term effects of that panel. And then again, the training center, $18,750. And for the training center, that's a project that's out to 2031. Each year, it's a $25,000 package from the city, $6,000, the remainder of the $18,750, that comes out of the 101 general fund. The other portion comes out of the EMS fund, which I think is $6,250. That's going for infrastructure down at the training center and starting to put the infrastructure together, as well as the master plan for that structure, for that whole training ground, so we can start to build that out in the near future. For 2027, 2028, 2029, it's just going to be the training center is what we're looking at for those particular projects this far. We haven't really projected any major projects out. Each year we'll bring those to you before we do that. For the EMS fund, we're looking at some replacement of items. We've got extrication tools, ambulances, Lucas cut devices in 2025. And that's for the replacement of those items when 98 comes in. Ambulance 99 replacement will be in 2026 with the power load system. And again, the annual training center will be along with that as well. EMS Enterprise Fund for 2027, we're looking at LifePak 15 cardiac monitors, patient cot, and then also the annual training center. And then for 2028, the extrication tools, Lucas device, annual training center improvements in stair chair for the ambulance. And then when we're getting out to 2029, we'll be looking at the ambulance replacement. So you've seen a lot of stuff being in a cycle. Those are all in a 3-year replacement with a 15-year overall schedule for the EMS Enterprise Fund. And those items are going to be a little bit different. If you have any questions how the Enterprise Fund is set up as far as the CIP, those are fully funded items. I don't think we have to take long-term debt for those, is that correct?
Not at this point.
Not at this point, okay. At this point, they would be cash value. Those would be items that would be funded from that enterprise fund, unless we need to move down a different avenue, which we'll work closely with finance to make sure we're getting that taken care of. Other than that, that's our CIP process for 2025 through 2029. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any comments or questions about the CIP process?
Page 20B for the EMS Enterprise Fund. You're looking at extrication tools.
Okay.
What does that involve? Hand tools, battery power tools, gas power tools, what?
That's actually going to be the battery operated tool, which is going to be the Hamatro tools. That comes with a...
Those are the ones that you guys tested earlier.
Correct. And that's going to be the handheld. Now the battery would be on the device, so you don't need the head any longer. So you would need basically the generator propulsion plant that would create that hydraulic. Now it's all inside the tool itself. So smart technology being pushed into place keeps it cleaner in our cabinets.
Any other comments or questions?
Just one more comment, and this relates both to budget and to the capital improvement programs for both departments. There are abbreviations and acronyms that are put into these. Could we get a list of what those are? So when a new budget or a new CIP is developed, we have a glossary. I was starting to put together a glossary of significant terms, so the commission would have it. Then I wound up with COVID, and I have no idea where I put all my notes.
Oh, no.
Commissioner Pinker, I'm not sure if we have some examples. I try to have these in plain talk, but if I missed a couple, then.
No, I may have,
No, Bill is right. When I went through it, I just gave up trying to figure out what some of them were. Every profession has its own vocabulary. That's one of the signs of a profession.
I'm an Everest graduate. I might have just spelled the word wrong.
I took that into account. That's very,
yeah.
you should have to deal with HUD.
Oh, no.
The CDA is HUD. And it is incredible, the language they have developed for themselves.
To CDA, Community Development Authority.
Just use two acronyms there.
Sure, I don't want to say it all out. But anyway, I think Bill's recommendation is a good one. Either spell it out or give us some hint of what it's about.
I think for next year's, we'll do a level of detail for that.
Yeah.
And that way it's presented.
Yeah. And you do that year after year, and those of us who've been around for a while will sort of catch up, but there'll always be new people who won't know. Is there anything else about the fire department budget? We need a motion to approve.
Move to approve the capital improvement program.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Any additional comments or questions? All in favor of the motion? Whoops, roll call.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Meek.
Keo.
Yes. Motion carries. Chief.
Okay, for our CIP, first I want to point out that I agree with you with the process here, and I have to take ownership in some of this. I should have known to bring at least the projects forward to this group prior to, and I will certainly improve in the future and do that. So I apologize for any confusion that I may have caused. Our CIP is a little bit different this year in that we're not sure which direction that the City Council is gonna want to go in relation to our building. So I saw this year as sort of a fork in the road. We either have to invest towards replacing the police department, most likely with the donated building on the south end of town, or we have to look into investing into our current department because we're getting up there in age with our roof and with our HVAC systems, and that's really just the beginning of it. So I prepared two separate CIPs. It could be confusing because it looks like we're repairing our current building and building a new one. That's not the case. The city will decide which direction they want to go. If it's the new building, then we would get rid of the improvements to our current building and vice versa. So it's kind of a fork in the road, if you will. The first step with the new building would be blueprint and design. The number in the CIP that was requested is actually a little bit less than the 860 that's here. It's right around 800,000 for just blueprint and design, and then the $10 million cost for the building is spread between 2 years. So there would be a $5 million and $5 million. So that's not actually accurate in the information that I gave you, but that is kind of the plan. Jordan and Jennifer can explain that. It has to do with the borrowing schedule and to spread out that debt between a couple of years, which I think makes a lot of sense. If the building isn't approved, we need an HVAC system, which is right around 200,000. We did have an estimate through that. I also had
Jeff Malter will just look over the estimate to make sure it made sense. He's knowledgeable in that area. And it seemed to be pretty consistent with what we would need. In addition to that, if you remember when we did the feasibility study for the Wildwood building, we took that out of the CIP for the roof. Our building, current police department itself did leak a few times last year. It seems like we've solved it. It hasn't leaked as of recently, and with the amount of rain, I count that as a win. But it's certainly, the signs are there that we're gonna need to replace that. That's just under $100,000. We also need the space to develop this building. That building is deteriorating fast. I think it starts with the roof. A lot of times there's more rain inside than there is outside in that building. So we did have estimates on to replace that roof. The portion that we use, the garage portion, is structurally more sound than the part of the building that jets to the south that City Garage uses more often. I believe the cost to replace all of that is $100,000. I'm afraid if we don't replace one, replace the other, it's just gonna add on. There's other issues with that building. We've got water in the lower part where in the oil change bay, used to be the oil change bay down in there, there's water often, and so there's signs that building is deteriorated, deteriorating, I should say. However, the space is absolutely necessary for our department. So we did include those. So to stay in, if the new building doesn't go through, we're looking at about $400,000 to start. That doesn't address the space issues we have. It doesn't address some of the security issues we have. So there'll be more to come in that area if we stay in this building. So that's the building side of it. Our vehicle side of it is a little bit different this year than in years past. We replace 3 patrol squad cars a year. We'll start there, I guess. That rotation seems to work very well with us. Our vehicles stay under warranty, under emergency mode. I feel that if we are a first responder in emergency mode, we need to have vehicles that are in good shape. As we all know, as vehicles age, they start to deteriorate. We are not gentle with our vehicles. These are work vehicles. So we did try inadvertently during COVID to stretch that rotation out, and I think we can all attest to the amount of issues that we had during that time. Our vehicles were down a lot during those times. We did have some malfunctions with newer vehicles too, but we found that 3-year rotation is best for us, especially with the emergency driving. Detective vehicles, our schedule right now is that we rotate every other year. We did start with rotating every year, but we stretched that out a few years back to every other year, and we're able to keep up. Mileage isn't ever the real issue with our detective vehicles, it's more age. When we buy a detective vehicle, the first couple of years or whatever our rotation is, the first part of that vehicle's life is our undercover vehicles. In that line of work, it doesn't take all that long before people start to recognize which vehicles of ours are the undercover vehicles. We try to rotate those out as common or as quickly as we can, but we also have to keep in mind that if we get made in 6 months, we can't buy a new car. So we had that every other year rotation, and that seemed to be working, but we understand the situation that our city is in, and we think that it was asked of me by an older person to look at a 3-year rotation. We can do it. I don't think it's a sustainable plan. I don't think we can do it for very long, but I think that we're in a good position now to switch to a 3-year rotation because our fleet is in pretty good condition. We have to buy 1 more vehicle this year for detectives. And then I think that will put us in a position where we can have 3 years to maybe devise a plan where we can help the city save a little money and meet our needs. We're looking into auctions. Some of our undercover vehicles don't have to be, in fact, they shouldn't be new vehicles. We want to have vehicles that maybe are a little bit aged, maybe a little bit less expensive. We can look at used vehicles, and there's other things I think we can do to maybe spend less money, at least some of the times, than buying a new vehicle. What we'll lose in that though is after it goes to the undercover, we pass that vehicle on to our other departments, and then they wait until the next undercover vehicle comes to them before they replace it. With a 3-year schedule, I think we're looking at about a 12 to 15 year rotation depending on how we use that vehicle. And by that time, we're really affecting the reliability of the vehicle. And also, these are resale, but we're also looking at, though the detective vehicles should have lights and sirens as well, they would still possibly go in emergency mode. So we want to keep that in mind as well, that we're not keeping that vehicle past its safety. But for this CIP, I want to present that I think that we should look at other options. This is a good opportunity to look at other options. On the detective side, the patrol side, I'm kind of a stickler with. I think that for safety reasons, we need to keep that rotation the way it is. This is reflected in our CIP. Next year would just be the 3 patrol vehicles. Finally, emergency management. The only thing we have in CIP with emergency management is the sirens. And that's on a regular maintenance schedule. Until we find another technology that is more useful maybe than the sirens, they are starting to become quite antiquated. We need to keep up with our warning devices. These are intended to warn people who are outdoors when a storm comes in, not indoors. There's some movement in this area that we're not ready to switch to yet, but some examples are, the news channels 9 and 7 both have weather alerts that come right to your cell phones. And there's all kinds of different apps and things that this may progress into. However, we don't see anything in the immediate future, especially the next 2 years, that we'd be ready to switch to. So I think we should keep up with the maintenance. Those are the issues, all the items that are in our CIP. You should have copies of those in your packets, and I would entertain any discussion or questions.
Well, 2188, thank you for including the siren. That's my siren.
That's why it's in there, Bill.
I got a question about patrol vehicles. Am I correct that the Dodge Chargers are now gone from the market, or will be gone from the market?
There's a lot of changes in the Dodge field. They're cycling out the Hemis, thank God. That's the ones that we had a lot of troubles with. Chargers, I believe, are exiting in the police field. There's really not a whole bunch of options in patrol pursuit-rated vehicles. Now, we don't have to have a pursuit-rated vehicle to have a police department. There's many departments that buy regular squad cars, regular cars, and use them in a pursuit capacity. The differences are that we have a little bit bigger brakes and some alternator and some other minor things that are differences. Right now, the Durangos seem to be the best option, and really for us, it's really cost effective because we have a better chance of taking equipment off the old vehicle to put into the new ones. So we've been staying with Durangos because of that cost. When I prepare a CIP, I prepare it with the thought that we're going to have to replace everything. If we don't, then we come in a little bit lighter, and then we would borrow less the next year to cover the cost. So,
how are we getting rid of those? Are they go into a public auction?
What we've used,
sale, or does somebody actually take those on trade?
We can do all of that. The options are all there. Right now, we're pretty fleet heavy. Believe it or not, we're actually trying to fix vehicles up in order to sell them. We've got some of our Durangos. We needed to get running. But we use Wisconsin surplus most of the time, and that's been pretty good. But we've also, we've also looked into the possibility of trading them. And if we go like with our detective vehicles, maybe we'll find a vehicle on a used lot. Maybe we would trade a vehicle that we're cycling out to help offset that cost as well. So we can do all of it.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? We need a motion to approve the police department CIP.
I move to approve the capital improvement program for the police department.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. Is there any comment? Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Baker,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Meek, Keo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. That completes our agenda. Items for future meetings you can share with Lori. And I would say, is there any new business to be brought before the assembly? If there is not, Robert says the chair can adjourn the meeting. We're adjourned. And thank you all.